Hi there, my name is Catherine Faber and I'm an agroforestry specialist with the National Center for Appropriate Technology. Today I'm out here in Austin, Texas, and we're going to be learning how the city of Austin utilized urban agroforestry to restore a floodplain that previously had residential housing on it. That housing experienced repeated flooding over the course of many years. Eventually the city decided to buy those homes, demolish them, and restore the area. Now, urban agroforestry is just one of the many things that you could do to restore land like this in a project such as this, and it's a step-by-step process. So today, the City of Austin is going to walk us through what those steps are.
So this is the Williamson Creek buyout area. Behind me is Williamson Creek. Repeated flooding happened here. We bought out 52 homes in the watershed. We have been doing projects like community gardens and orchards and sometimes restoration projects. So the homes are bought out, they're demolished, they're leveled, they're seeded, there's erosion matting over them, and they're allowed to regrow. There's still infrastructure. Even though a lot of utilities are capped at the curb, there's still fiber optic cables you can come across, and you'll see transformer boxes and things like that that might seem out of place. There's still utilities at these sites that either are used or aren't being used, and it's our job to figure that out. What can we remove and how can we remove it? What needs to stay because it's providing water to like another neighborhood? So there's departments like Austin Water, Austin Energy, who I can talk to. They work with the city. We might have some shared resources we can use. It's a massive undertaking to get all of the utilities taken out. And then there's curb cuts. So as you're driving along a street, there's lots of driveways. And so you're removing the house, but there's still a curb cut and a driveway apron. And so that's another project that we take on, is if they're not needed for water conveyance, then going through and taking the driveway apron out and replacing the curb cut. So when you look down the street, you can see all the newer concrete. That was a driveway, that was a driveway. This was a driveway. This was a tree someone planted in their front yard. It's an interesting way to look at a landscape, as this used to be a neighborhood. Part of the management in the years following a buyout project is going through and deciding what kind of landscaping stuff we need to remove, like the invasives. A lot of people plant invasives like ligustrum, photinia, and so we have to manage for it and figure out how we're going to control things like bamboo and things that are really invasive from taking over an area that we want to restore. Part of my job is going into these communities and meeting people and talking to them and understanding what it is they want to see out of a long-term management plan, while acknowledging their trauma. That, you know, there's a lot of trauma associated with these sites, and it's really important for us to talk to folks. It requires a little bit more outreach and more neighborhood buy-in in order to implement a project like this. We have certain sections of our department that their job is to study watershed health and floodplain health and promote practices that create healthy riparian ecosystems. If it's riparian, it needs to be vegetated, and we need to protect the soil and create canopy. These are really good examples of how important tree roots are to preventing erosion and holding earth in place. But when looking at it just from a flood perspective, we have to be careful with how many trees that we plant in order to prevent flooding, because we have to keep the roughness coefficient in mind. If a flood came through, it would all get washed downstream, and it could potentially get clogged in a culvert and then catch debris, which will then pile on itself and displace more water. It only takes one to displace too much water to where there's a flood. Everything counts. Although we also know that trees can nurse other components of the ecosystem that in turn help water infiltrate. Gardeners can tap into local organizations and resources in the community. There are some resources that the city can provide. We can plant native trees, we can plant containerized trees or saplings. We can provide mulch for neighbors to mulch, or we can do the mulching ourselves. Fruit trees are an option. If we encounter some drought, then we can send our crews out here with a watering truck to water them. In this case, the city provided the trees and the neighbors are taking care of them. They planted fruit trees and they have a community garden, but then the rest, they implemented restoration practices. They did a lot of invasive removals. They have a lot of saplings that they planted and seeds. Neighbors can really help us meet our management goals for those lots. One neighbor in particular, when all of the buyouts were happening, she drove by that lot all the time, and she didn't have a gardening background at the time, and she was just like so dedicated to making this happen. She made it happen with the help of her neighbors. She was kind of the unifying leader and got everybody involved, and it's a great garden now. It's a partnership for sure. With the city's resources and then the neighborhood's attention and love, we can, see this area become a wonderful community asset.